As the granddaughter of a former Metropolitan Police Department officer who spent over 30 years on the force defending this city, I find it highly offensive how members of the board have disparaged police officers through this resolution. In our city, our police officers, they risk their lives every single day, and members of this board have tried to capitalize on an incident that took place half a nation away. Never mind the fact that we have no authority or control over anything in this resolution. And the SBOE is a policy approval body for education policy in this city. Minneapolis is not Washington, D.C. I repeat, Minneapolis is not Washington, D.C. Our MPD and our Capitol Police, they keep our city, the greatest city in America, safe, and they protect our streets and our schools. Since I started on this board, we've had children bring knives, guns, and other deadly weapons to schools. In fact, just a couple months into my term, a Black 3-year-old brought a gun into a school, and it was found none other than by an SRO. It's not just police inside schools, but all of the police working in our communities that keep our families safe. 5 years ago, while I was walking in my neighborhood in broad daylight at 8 a.m. while there were students walking to school, a drug-addicted man with a semi-automatic weapon stole my very young neighbor's backpacks right in front of me from inside their house. Who is there to help? SROs. Police and good SROs help with things like safe passage, which when pressed, my colleague tried to say volunteers could fill that role. In fact, our city has tried that in the past, and it failed miserably. Drug dealers paid people to ignore their presence on the street, and it's well known that in at least one school east of the river that known gang members and human traffickers, aka pimps, hang out during school. Things members of this board have chose to ignore. When saying that SROs are bad, my own high school that I went to school at had a police officer that kept me from leaving school. SROs are in many schools and serve all students, not just students of color. A recent study showed that an increase in social workers is actually not the way to go. In fact, the turnover rate for social workers is 30 to 65% across the US in some agencies, and depending on the jurisdiction. Good SROs lead to improved police call response and reductions in truancy. We've seen with Parkland what happens when there are bad SROs. I shiver at the thought of replacing trained professionals with social workers. Rather than eliminate SRO programs where issues exist, communities should implement needed reform, including replacing officers who are not suited to schoolwork with more carefully selected personnel and improving training of all SROs. But I will be voting no tonight, and I find it deeply disturbing that we were removing safety from our schools when it is needed more than ever.